Log recording is one after one in the morning. It's the 13th of November 2023. We were John C. Roseman, California. I'm not alive or awake for this crap in the morning, but I'm here still anyway, so what the hell. I'm seeing the politics happening these days, and I'm keep asking myself, what the hell am I doing up this early in the morning for? What in God's name am I up this early in the morning for? And I'm asking myself the same question over and over and over again. I don't have an answer for it. Right now, I'm just dealing and coping. The weekend had been emotional. I didn't think I was going to be able to do some stuff. I didn't actually. This weekend was the Veterans Day weekend, and because of my brother being a veteran when he was alive, it made it harder. A lot of emotional ties, a lot of connections in my head telling me certain things happening, and the emotions running through the head where I just couldn't see the traveling memorial that came through honoring the Vietnam dead and others. I couldn't go through it. I wasn't able to go through it. I couldn't look at it. I saw the pictures of it. It still got to me. So turn to politics. Hopefully that would have been able to soothe anything. Not really. I became more and more concerned about what a geologic feature happened because of someone raising the issue up on social media. Bo, the fifth column, was talking about Iceland and its volcanic future. I'm like, okay, so what? They got volcanism happening all the damn time. So does Hawaii, the big island, and its issues. We got volcanism happening at different hotspots left and right. Hell, Alaska goes off every so often. Etna's doing its own blow off, expecting Mexico for its volcano to go off, and not so much on the American front of which country, actually, which particular state is going to blow up with a volcano. Grand Tetons, we haven't had any activity, but people were fearing that Mount St. Helens was going to go, and last time it did, it was back in the '80s. It was back in the early '80s on that one. So yeah, okay, fine. There had been any movement of magma, otherwise we'd be having multiple earthquakes happening. I mean, we get swarms. But in our situations, we don't get the volcanism out here as much. We get we get the seismology, we get the seismic energies when the plates are rubbing against each other. But we haven't had any blowouts. So, not exactly looking forward to that one. I kept thinking about that movie back in the 90s oh, good lord, what the hell was it made? Tommy Lee Jones, and a few other people making this movie. Don Cheadle, I think it was in there too. Keep forgetting who the woman was. Volcano. Volcano? In the middle of Los Angeles? Are you kidding me? I saw this movie. I thought it was the corniest damn thing. Special effects were corny, but during those days, it was really corny. And because we had that going on, because we had that volcanism going on over there, how come the rest of Southern California didn't blow up or anything else like that? I'm wondering about that one. I've been wondering about that one. Every time there's volcanism somewhere else, there was always that idea floated around that maybe LA or California would have its own volcano. That would be changing a hell of a lot of things. For example, I am not a seismologist. I am not a geologist, but living in here in California doesn't exactly make me an expert either. But I have been through. Sorry, itchies, itchies. I have been in earthquakes before. I have been uh, through geologic events like that. What we haven't been through, and I think it would probably scare the living crap out of anybody who'd been in a range of these damn things, of what volcanism would be like. Now, if I happen to go to Google Maps, and let's say you went to Google Maps, you look at terrain. Okay, in the terrain, you're looking at okay. You're looking at You're looking at geographical. You're looking where the cities are, the roads are, and everything else. You turn on the layers, and actually, I should have been saying this one. Terrain, was that it, or is it traffic I was looking at? Okay, well, if I look at the terrain, I'm seeing the mountain features. I'm looking at hills, valleys, cracks, crevices, but drawn artistically. Now, if I happen to go to layers and look into the actual terrain, or maybe if I can get this damn thing to work right. Let's just say if I happen to go on the terrain and scroll. Doesn't exactly work for me very much now, does it? Because what I'm trying to look for is layers that I can actually see. There we go. Now, if I happen to scroll it back and I'm on, looks like terrain, I hope. Am I on that one? Yes, I am. Okay. So I'm able to look at the darker image of what the realistic state looks like. And its borders, cracks, crevices. But cities and towns and stuff, I can see density. I can see density along the coastline. From San Diego all the way up Santa Monica, Santa Barbara. I can see density, San Luis Obispo. I can see density in the desert regions, towns, cities, communities. Central Valley, same thing. I can see density. Okay. Now, since I get the density, I can also see the geologic and geographic nature of it, almost looking at like in real time, without the shadows going on. Because right now it's 1:09 in the morning and it's still dark as hell outside. But imagine the whole world's lit up. Okay. So I could see mountain ranges, a little more clarity. I could see the passes. I could see the fault lines. The major ones, anyway. The minor ones you can't see. Some minor ones cause a little bit more damage than the major ones, but who knows? So, the movie Volcano came out, and it hit in the area of Beverly Hills, among all places. Keep this in mind that they still had their own information and knowledge about volcanism and seismology back then, compared to what it is these days. And they're still trying to upgrade and update their own information. But, that being said, looking at the density of people left and right and everything else going on, do you really think, in the geologic nature we have out there, that there could be volcanism happening underneath the whole area? Now keep this in mind. If you are into volcanism, if you are into volcanoes, you're into the geologic movement, you're into geology itself, you would find the whole movie pretty far-fetched. If we actually did have geologic movement happening within the coastline of Southern California, including right in the Los Angeles area or close to it, what kind of seismic activity would we have been having for weeks on end on that one? And would that been putting pressure on the San Andreas fault line? The weirdest damn thing is when you're traveling on the 14 freeway going to and from, there is visibility of where the fault line is. There are indications of risings, of shifting rocks, of sedimentary layers broken off. You can see movement or evidence of it. You look at the geologic map that you have, you can actually see the fault lines. So between Antelope Valley and the San Fernando area, you got that nice mountain range, the upthrust here. The question would be, would there be any volcanism happening out there that nobody else would know about? Or geologic seismic activity that anybody would know about? If they had maybe like two or threes, okay, cluster earthquakes, no problem. We're talking about fours or fives on the magnitude scale? Or, yeah, on the magnitude. Wouldn't that cause some kind of attention gathering? And if there was that kind of seismic activity happening in those areas, what changes in the deformation of ground would people notice? If they kept using satellite pictures, if they kept using various equipments to measure the ground, maybe they would have detected something happening. Issued an alert to the Los Angeles area, hell, to the California region. And here's the thing: let's see, if we had major movement in that ground there, okay, if we actually had a major movement in Beverly Hills, how many people do we have scattered about in the city of Los Angeles? Millions. Where the hell are they going to go? Where the hell are they going to go? San Fernando Valley would be going crazy at this point. They wouldn't know where the hell to move except probably to Lancaster. You know what scared the hell out of me? It's not a volcano. Is when the fault lines rip. There had also been movies out there where we had earthquake disasters happening. There was movies called 10 Point out there back in the 90s, early 2000s. And they were talking about what happens if California actually split apart. There had been talk about that for decades. I think since the 80s. That if we had the Pacific plate and we had a North American plate break apart somehow, if there'd be enough energy coming from the mantle shooting through the crust to make that jarring effect happen. The crack, the fault line, extends all the way southwards towards Baja California to the edge between where Main Mexico and the Baja Peninsula. There's this angle in here. What happens if that fluid actually went right through? If it was cracked enough to where ocean water actually came through. There was also other movies that we made for fictional on that one. Escape from Los Angeles showed how part of Los Angeles, or actually Southern California, became part of a region of, well, became a prison for a lot of people. But just looking at it geologically and geographically, would it happen? I don't know. Plausibility? Possibility? Maybe not. Going back to the movie of volcanism, Volcano. I liked watching that one because it was something of a mindless thriller. Man versus lava. But man versus lava these days. So every time there's been a volcano blowing off, it's always been man versus volcano at that point. And at least we had warning whether or not the ground movement was going to be terrifying enough where we had to get people evacuated out of there like crazy. As in the form of Iceland. Iceland, being an isolated country in itself, situated in the North Atlantic Ridge, you can't even see it on the big maps. You put it on a terrain map and you can't see it. You put it on a well, maybe if you put it on a transit map or other maps, you probably couldn't see the damn thing anyway. But Iceland's there somewhere, probably northern. See Ireland, but I can't see Iceland. There it is. Okay, so actually you probably could see Iceland. My bad. My mistake. Northern region, right off the coast of Greenland, and almost in the middle between Norway and Greenland. So yeah, it's a pretty sizable geologic event thing there. But if I was going to be looking at Hawaii, little tiny Hawaii, the island chains that are still growing. The island chains that are still growing. You get underwater volcanism out there making up new landfall. New little islands for the island chain. Give it about another 100 years. We'll have something on there for them. If there's enough underwater volcanism going on to grow the island. But Iceland, in its own density, its own little package there of mystery. And I can't say that this one scared the hell out of people. This would scare the hell out of people. Because you have a section of lava movement going on, and we have geologists online who are keeping track of this one. And they noticed through previous volcanic activity that there are lines going through Iceland, including lava tubes. Lava tubes like the Hawaiian Islands have. They're interesting to see. I've seen some of the photographs. I've seen some of the videos. If you're into basaltic, fine. The one thing I'd ask for you to do if you're going through them, make sure that you've got a filter mask with you. Volcanic glass is very hazardous to humans. Very fine rock material that can actually slice a person. Razor sharp. I'd seen samples that my geology professor showed in class. Rocks can kill one way or another. Reykjavik, I think, is one of the major areas that they have for population. And even they would have an issue concerning about all the volcanism happening on the island. Anything happens on the island, everyone else feels about. And looking at the geologic features of the island itself in different areas, they value volcanism highly because they use it for tourist traps, but they also know that volcanoes can kill. So in more isolated areas, I would see more of the formations where lava flows were constant at one time in the island's creation. Yeah, I can see it in the entire island. Buried under that snow and ice. You barely see it. But seeing it just as the terrain is, it's pretty. Oof. With such devastation, they also have growth. Farming community, rich soil to grow stuff in. Very fertile. But it also scares the hell out of people. People would fly into a little major hotel or two or minor one just to get near hot springs to dangle their feet in them. They had something called Blue Lagoon that they had to evacuate because of the volcanism happening in the area, because of the seismic activity that scared the living crap out of people. For such a small continent or island, it really wasn't commanding all that much attention for the world. Now, if the island actually had a major volcanism happening at that point where it's going to be burying the entire island in volcanic soot and ash, that would catch the world's attention. But for the movement of the ground right now, not yet. But when I look at the United States, I never thought that the United States would suffer through or actually go through volcanism until I learned about the Cascades and the Grand Tetons, about the chain that we had ranging from Washington all the way down to Northern California. We got Mount Shasta here we have to worry about. The problem is Shasta has been quiet. In the mountain ranges that I've seen for California and the valley that we had, it's only the mountains in the closer to the coastlines I worry about. Part of the Cascade regions, right? Who would have thought that in California we would actually have an extinct volcano? In Oregon and Washington area, in the border area, we never thought, we never did think during that time that there would have been volcanism coming from Mount St. Helens, and yet the damn thing blew. And that was terrifying because nobody knew how to deal with that one. That's for darn sure. Looking at the landscape of it, that still scares the hell out of me. Mount Rainier they're worried about too. The U.S. Geologic Survey has been on constant monitoring of areas like that, and they have to be, because we don't know when the next volcanism is going to happen. Extinct volcanoes can go active. We've got geologic proof. And it still scares the hell out of me. Watching that stuff happening. Holy crap. Mount St. Helens, when she blew, caught everyone's attention and caught everybody off guard on that one. It scared the hell out of people left and right. It did. Me watching this stuff in action. Scientific mind would go like, wow, fascinating. But seeing how the actions of it happened, that still scares me. They should. Something that can't be controlled and we had no chance of running away from. If we indeed actually had something of that nature happening, we'd be royally screwed on that one. If I happen to take a look at a satellite picture of all of it, I would see it in real, not the terrain stuff. I would see what it looks like. And it still scares the hell out of me. Oh, the mountains are nice to look at. Breathtaking and stuff. That until you had a geologic event happening, it scared the shit out of everybody. So yeah, I worry. I worry. I am reminded on a constant basis that we are in California existing in a rim of fire, we call it. A ring of fire, actually. Because of the geologic movement of the plates and how things are working. It just fascinates and scares the hell out of me. The Mid-Atlantic Range. I had forgotten that Iceland was sitting in the middle of the damn thing. Goes right through it. So if there was going to be any splitting apart of this particular island over here, I wouldn't put it past it. Looking at a satellite picture of it that was taken last year through Google, I've seen the ridges, Mid-Atlantic Ridge, going right through Iceland, exiting from the top and continuing on. Fascinating and scary as hell to know that Reykjavik could be a town split apart. Hell, they could have their own volcanism right there. But no, they don't. Only on the extending peninsula do they have. And they're worried about the geologic activity happening in that area. Weird stuff to think about this morning, isn't it?